Welcome to today's explainer. Look, today we are breaking down a completely radical, hype-free blueprint for building massive wealth. I'm talking no overnight crypto success, absolutely no lottery tickets, and definitely no quick fixes. We are looking at the exact step-by-step framework from a man who is actively aiming for a 100 crore rupee portfolio simply by playing the long game. What we're about to uncover today completely shatters how most of us think about money.
So let's kick things off with a pretty tough question, right? Why do so many incredibly hardworking people just fail to create wealth? You know the story. Millions of us are stuck in this endless rat race. We're working 12-hour days, sitting through brutal packed commutes, completely exhausting ourselves, but somehow never actually getting rich. We earn, we spend, and the cycle just repeats itself on a loop.
Well, the answer to that actually lies in the incredible journey of Gajendra Kothari and one, frankly, staggering number, 62 crore. Now, Kothari didn't start with some massive trust fund. Actually, 22 years ago, he arrived in Mumbai sharing a tiny 2,000 rupee rented room. Fast forward to today, at just 45 years old, he has built a 62 crore portfolio without a single rupee of inheritance. It is just pure, disciplined math.
Which brings us to a fundamental truth of this entire philosophy. Wealth is created in the mind before it comes into the pocket. Building this level of absolute financial freedom, it isn't about complex algorithms or having a PhD in finance. You have to completely overhaul your psychological relationship with money before you even bother checking your bank balance.
So here is our roadmap to dismantle those financial myths today. We'll start with the one idiot mindset, then move to the golden wealth formula, the sheer magic of compounding, the massive equities versus real estate debate, and finally, how to conquer fear and greed.
All right, part one, the one idiot mindset.
The traditional mindset? It is honestly a massive trap. It's all about looking rich, buying those shiny status symbols, and endlessly chasing society's approval. But the one idiot mindset, which, by the way, was actually inspired by a short film about a seemingly broke guy in slippers who was secretly worth 100 crores, flips this entirely. It is all about rejecting the urge to show off. Kothari adopted this philosophy so deeply that he doesn't even own a house or a car. He prioritizes letting his money work for him rather than working himself to the bone just to look wealthy for total strangers.
Moving right along to Section 2, the Golden Wealth Formula. The absolute crucial first step here is flipping this standard middle-class math. Normally, the trap goes like this. You get your income, pay all your expenses, and whatever tiny scrap is left over becomes your savings. But you know as well as I do, expenses always expand to fill your income. The wealth creator's rule flips this entirely. Income minus savings equals expenses. You have to automate your investments the literal moment your paycheck hits, essentially paying your future self first and forcing yourself to live only on whatever is left over.
Okay, so how do you actually divide up that paycheck in the real world? Enter the brilliantly simple 50-30-20 rule. 50% goes to absolute needs, things like rent and groceries. 30% goes to wants, like dining out or maybe upgrading your phone. But that final 20%, that is non-negotiable investing. Automating this split completely removes the emotional stress of budgeting and ensures you are consistently, systematically building wealth in the background.
If you need hardcore proof that this simple discipline actually works, prepare to have your mind blown. Kothari started a systematic investment plan, just an automated monthly investment, for his daughter the very month she was born. He put away just 10,000 rupees every month, tossing in whatever small cash gifts she got for birthdays along the way. Fast forward 15 years, and that single totally hands-off fund exploded to over 1 crore and 6 lakhs. I mean, that is literally the sheer superpower of automation.
Which brings us perfectly to Section 3, the magic of compounding.
Compounding basically operates on what we call a J-curve. And let's be real, for a long time, wealth creation is painfully boring. It's like watching paint dry. You plant the seeds, water them monthly, and your progress just looks like a flat line. It feels like absolutely nothing is happening. But then, all of a sudden, it hits a tipping point and transforms into this vertical, skyrocketing trajectory where your money literally starts printing its own money.
When you map out this timeline, it's where the math genuinely feels like magic. For a disciplined investor, getting to that first crore is an absolute downright grind. It takes roughly 10 years of relentless patience, and honestly, 99% of people just quit right here. But if you survive that flat line, look what happens. The second crore only takes 4 years. The third takes 3 years. By the time you hit the vertical leap of that J-curve, your 10th crore could take just 10 months to generate. 10 months.
All right, let's dive into section 4, and this one's a big one. Equities versus real estate. Now, Kothari takes a pretty radical stance on this age-old debate. He argues that equities, things like mutual funds, are the absolute ultimate wealth creators. Why? Well, the growth potential of human innovation driving a business is virtually limitless, right? Real estate, on the other hand, is literally bound by physical walls. Plus, equities are highly liquid and purely data-driven. Physical property ties you down emotionally and physically, often forcing you to endure brutal daily commutes just to pay off a massive mortgage.
He completely shatters this ingrained societal myth that buying a house is this mandatory life milestone you just have to hit. Kothari actually rents his home. He points out a massive financial superpower that most people miss. Paying a relatively low rental yield of, say, 3% to a landlord, while your own capital sits and earns 15% in the stock market. That is peak financial literacy. By renting, he gets to live exactly where he wants, walk to work, and essentially reclaim hours of his life every single day.
And finally, section 5, conquering fear and greed. Because, let's be real, to actually succeed long-term, you have to conquer 3 silent wealth killers that ruin even the best mathematical plans. First, there's fear, that primal urge to panic and sell everything during a market crash. Then there's greed, which tricks you into chasing quick, dopamine-fueled returns through super risky trades like futures and options. But honestly, the worst one today? Envy. Making your financial choices based on what influencers post online will completely trick you into trading your actual financial freedom just for society's applause.
Need a masterclass in conquering that exact fear? Listen to this. During the frankly terrifying 2020 COVID crash, Kothari's portfolio, which he had built over 10 straight years of strict discipline, plummeted to just 5.85 crores. He was essentially sitting at a massive loss after a whole decade of waiting. Most people would bail out immediately, but instead of panicking, he recognized it as a black swan event. He held his ground, he didn't sell a single thing, and the J-curve eventually rewarded him with explosive, vertical growth on the other side.
So what does this all mean for us? The action plan here really boils down to 3 incredibly simple steps. 1, start investing as early as humanly possible, even if it's tiny amounts. 2, automate those investments to remove your own human emotions from the equation entirely. And 3, just be patient. Survive the boring flat line of the J-curve and let the math do the heavy lifting for you.
I want to leave you with this final thought from today's explainer. Kothari didn't build 62 crores just to look at a high score on a banking app. He did it so he could, take a nap in the middle of a Tuesday if he felt like it. Because ultimately, the greatest thing money can ever buy isn't a status symbol. It is your freedom. Your time is your true wealth. The formula is sitting right in front of you now. So, when are you going to start buying your time back?